Okay, so today, I'm just shedding some light on us. We're gonna be reading my subscribers' scary stories that they sent to me. I had a few people email me because I asked on my Instagram, does anyone have any scary stories? And if so, send them to me. So we're sitting in the dark. There's no lights on in our apartment, and we lit every candle we own just to add to the vibe. So, and this is my first time reading all the stories because I wanted like a genuine reaction. So yeah, we're just gonna share your scary stories. Okay, so the first one I got was from my friend Zoe, who is from Canada, and you know her.
Yeah, Canada Zoe.
Yeah, and so she goes to like this camp, and she said that like her camp is like notoriously haunted, so she sent me like the Reddit story about her camp. And she said a lot of people from this camp have experienced similar experiences to this story, even myself. One night I spent about 20 minutes at the cove waiting for someone to come meet me, and my phone battery dropped from 68% down to 3% in the matter of 2 minutes, without data on or using it in the slightest, except as a flashlight. There are a lot of ghosts at this camp that many people have encountered and talked to through a Ouija board. So the Reddit story is really long, so I'm just going to read this part of it. I scrolled through and tried to find like a eventful part. So this is told from the point of view of a person who is staying at the camp. So okay, I sat down in the common room and got out my book. I was reading Fight Club that night. After a few minutes of reading, I could feel my eyelids start to get heavy. I tried keeping myself awake, but the dead silence of the night lulled me to sleep. I woke up suddenly and was sitting in pitch black. I looked at my watch. I had only fallen asleep for a moment. The generator must have been out of fuel. So much for being full, I thought to myself as I got up from the couch. I walked around to the back of the cabins where the generator and maintenance shed were located. I went to the shed to grab a canister of gasoline. I took it to the generator and started unscrewing the gas cap. A large sound from the forest directly behind me caused me to stop what I was doing. I could usually ignore the sounds of the forest, but this was big. It was like a tree had been snapped in half and thrown to the ground. I turned to the woods to try to see the commotion. As I was looking through the trees, I heard another group of twigs and branches snap. It was too dark to see what was making the noise. After a brief pause, more branches broke. Whatever was causing the sound was getting closer. This was not the constant rustle of a raccoon walking on the forest floor. This was the sound of someone walking through the forest, breaking sticks with each heavy-footed step. They were walking towards me. Hello? I yelled out in the deepest voice I could manage. Hello? Crack, crack, crack. Who's out there? Crack, crack, crack. I strained my eyes to try to see what was walking towards me. My first thought was that someone had decided to play a prank on me. Then I saw it. It was the same figure that I had seen on the first night of the summer. It was standing 10 feet into the woods. The forest was pitch black, but somehow this figure was even darker.
Ooh.
You shouldn't be out here, I yelled, hoping that it was just a counselor trying to scare me. I could feel my voice quiver.
You shouldn't be out here, you would say to a creature in the woods. Like, go back to bed.
Stop. It took another step forward. My heart rate spiked. I tried yelling at it again, but I could not make a noise. Another step forward. My brain was telling me to run, but I could not move my legs. It started to whistle. It was summertime. Is that like a song? I don't know. It was a low, drawn-out whistle with deep breaths at the rest. It got to the end of the verse and spoke the last line. Hush, little baby, it said in the low, raspy voice of a lifetime smoker. Another step forward. Don't. Another step forward. You. Why are we like laughing at this?
It's kind of, I don't know.
It was at the edge of the trees. Its arm started to rise from its side and reach towards me. Ew. It stopped. I heard voices coming from the path to my right. I turned my head to see two counselors coming around the building. What are you doing out here? Why are the lights off? One of the counselors said. I turned back to the man reaching out to me, but saw nothing except for the empty darkness of the forest. Is there something wrong with the generator? I turned to face the counselors, not knowing what to say. My heart was still racing. It's out of gas, I finally said after a long pause. No way, we filled it before you got here. I looked down at the generator. It was unplugged. So someone had unplugged it. That's pretty
Did
creepy.
they say if they were staying in a room by themselves?
This person was a supervisor or something. They said on the night in question I was scheduled to supervise the cabins on Boys Hill.
Oh, okay, so that's why they said you shouldn't be out here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking, like, if I saw something in the woods, I would be like, you shouldn't be out here.
In the thing they said, they yelled that because in case it was like a counselor or something lurking in the woods. Because it says each night after the campers were asleep, one staff member would supervise a grouping of cabins to allow the counselors to have a break and go to staff feed. It was usually a pretty boring job, and I would bring a book along with me to keep entertained. So I also see up here that the cabins on Boys Hill have been rebuilt after they burnt down in the early 90s. So that's pretty creepy. Okay, so that was pretty creepy. I wish I had more details, but I was specifically told not to disclose any more details because it would give away her camp. So.
Oh, really? Didn't say what camp it was in the review?
Review?
On Reddit? Isn't that like a review site?
No, Reddit is like for stories and stuff. So this is from Kelly.
I've always been able to feel energies and connect with spirits since I was really young.
Me too.
But there's one day that is still happening. But there's one story that is still happening to this day. So about 4 years ago, I started feeling this spirit in my room, and it didn't seem evil, so I just ignored it. But then one night I woke up and saw a full-blown dark shadow with a very distinct outline of curly hair. I got this feeling immediately. Once I saw that curly hair, I knew who it was. She was someone who I kind of knew, but not well at all. I had gone to her funeral and had her prayer card, and where I had saw her was in the same corner where her prayer card was.
Yeah.
So I let her be, and she was there every single night. Most of the time, she would stay in her corner, and other nights, she would come over to my bed and stand over me while I was sleeping.
Oh my god.
That's all that happened for the first 2 years, and then I started to end my senior year of high school and get ready to go away to college in New Orleans. She was not happy about this because once I started packing things up, she would hide things all over the house that would never leave my room or throw things across my room while I was packing.
Oh my god.
She threw a full pencil case across the room once.
How is she not scared telling this story? She's like saying it so casually.
Then I saw Morgan Adams' ghost video and saw that she used filters on Snapchat to talk to her ghost, and so I did that, and it was crazy. She would always show up in the corner where I always saw her, and I would use the puppy filter and ask her to stick the tongue out, and she would.
Ah, that's so scary.
I have lots of other stories about her, but one that was the most crazy was that I was moving my room around. She doesn't like change. And before that, I could not find any of my prayer cards because they were always in the corner where she was. And so I have one of those beds with the drawers built in underneath. So there's no way to get underneath of my bed unless you take the drawers out. So my mom and I took the drawers out to move my bed more easily, and what's under my bed? All of my prayer cards with my ghost that's in my room on top. That one was wild, and I literally have no explanation for that except that it was her.
Jesus.
Hope you enjoyed this story.
That's crazy. I don't know how she's so calm about like seeing a ghost. Like, I mean, props to you, girl, because that's fucking scary.
I know, it sounded so normal.
Okay, so this next story is from @mburger on Instagram. Go follow her. Okay, so she starts off by saying, so just like you, I also go to FIT. Hey. I'm a freshman and I dorm in alumni. Oh god. I know a lot of people who live in an alumni. I didn't know it was haunted. Stop fucking yawning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. One night, a little over a month ago, I was laying in bed about 1 a.m. with the lights off. I was alone because my roommate was home at the time. I was in bed on my phone, and I heard the light switch flick and the lights turn on. At first, I was confused and thought it was just my other roommates messing with me, but I realized my door was shut and I would have heard if someone came in. So I called my roommates in from the other room. I got out of bed once they came into my room to see that the light switch was completely flipped up. After being a little creeped out for a bit, I finally went to sleep and didn't think about the situation. About 2 days later, I was working on homework in the kitchen in my dorm with one of my roommates, Natalie. We had the lights on and we were the only two in the dorm. Natalie had to leave for class, but I was still doing work at the table. Shortly after Natalie left for class, I went to the bathroom for a minute. Once I opened the door to go out of the bathroom, I instantly noticed the lights were off in the kitchen.
Ew.
I looked and the light switch was flicked down. I was very confused because I was only in the bathroom for a minute and I didn't hear anyone come in. Even though I didn't hear anyone come in, I texted Natalie and asked if she came back to the dorm and happened to switch the lights off, but she was already in class. My other 2 roommates were at work at home, so I was very confused as to how the light could have turned off. Also, I'm not sure if this adds to the previous situations, but that Saturday was my birthday. I went to go get tattoos with my friends at 1 a.m. and on my way back to FIT, the one light above me began to flicker in the subway car. I was slightly spooked by that, considering the events that happened to me previously that week. After all this happened within that week, I decided to research stories about light switches physically turning on or off, but I couldn't find any stories quite like mine. I have a feeling paranormal activity played a role in this, but I don't want to sound crazy. Thanks for reading. I can't wait to hear the rest of the stories. Yeah, that's crazy because she heard the switch go off. Like, I see a bunch of paranormal videos where people, like, claim that, like, the light flickering is, like, paranormal, but I'm like, you're an idiot. The light is just flickering. But if she, like, literally heard the switch flick, that's pretty scary.
This one is from Emma Jane. She said, I always have dreams that feel like someone is trying to send me a message. I've had a couple visitations from family members that have passed away, but most recently I feel as if my best friend's grandpa is trying to send my friend a message. Over the summer I had a very vivid dream that my friend was upset about her grandpa passing, and it turned out she was thinking of him the night I had the dream. Her grandpa had passed a couple years prior. The most recent dream is even weirder though. Last week I had the same dream but even more intense, like my friend was bawling her eyes out because she missed her grandpa so much. After telling my best friend about the dream when I woke up, she told me that it was the anniversary of his death.
Whoa.
These experiences probably aren't as crazy as some other people, but I feel like my friend's grandpa is trying to reach out through my dreams. I wonder if more experience like this will occur as time goes on.
That's like a thing actually, because honestly she's probably having like preliminary like signs of being a medium, because like I've seen like a lot of mediums say that like in their younger years they would have like it's usually starts with stuff like your dreams telling you something that's going to happen already, so maybe she could make a career out of this. And her Instagram is EJ Scaramuzino. I'm pretty sure I said that right. Okay, so the next one is from Lily Elizabeth. She said, so we are the first people to ever live in my house. It was built and then we moved in. I was so happy about this because I was like, yay, there's no way any paranormal stuff could be in there. But I was wrong, lol. Ever since we moved in, my bedroom light would start to turn on and off by itself, but it was only in my room and only when I'm in the room. I know that it's only when I'm in there because I've never walked in with the lights being different than how I left them. It's usually when I'm trying to go to sleep too. Also, my mom has hearing aids, and she said that whenever she walks in my room, the volume on them turns up and down, and it gets really staticky, but she's only ever had that happen in my room. It's really creepy, but I have no idea what else it could be. I always had this weird feeling about this one room in my house, which like my sister and like my cousins would know about, because like when we were younger, we were like very, like as most kids are, where we were very like into that kind of stuff, like paranormal stuff. It's now my guest room. So it's like we have a guest room in our house and like nobody sleeps in there like from my family, so it's like most of the time it's like just empty. Like there's furniture in there and stuff, but I think honestly, because I've always been a very like hypersensitive person, like a lot of these people are saying, like I feel like I've always picked up on like weird energies and stuff. So I feel like when I was younger, I like felt the energy coming off of this one, like we had this antique hat in there that was like we bought from like an antique store, and I feel like I'm just feeling like the energy coming off of that like since I was little. So I feel like that's why I like, we always would call it like the haunted room, and like we would be scared to go in there. And like looking back, it's weird, but I also feel like if you have a feeling about a certain room, like it's actually your intuition telling you like something about it. So I don't think you're crazy.
This is from Cheyenne Hanahan. Hey, girl. So she says, a while ago when I was babysitting this little girl, which is now my neighbor, she always said she can remember her past life, and she used to have like 3 dads, and they took her all over New York, and knows things about New York yet she hasn't. Oh, so knows things about New York yet she hasn't ever been there. Anyway, when she lived in her old house, she said there was multiple ghosts, from a dog in a light, firemen on the porch, and a couple and a farmer in the playroom.
Oh my God.
And an evil man in the guest bedroom TV.
Wait, that's so weird that I just mentioned that.
In the guest bedroom TV.
Ew.
And she would always talk to them and say they are around when I'm there. Super creepy. Well, one night when I was babysitting, we were in the playroom, and there was one of those plastic mini picnic tables that kids can play on. It was up against the wall, so her back was to the wall, and to her right side was the other wall because it was in the corner of the room. I was on the other side, so I was facing her and the wall. We were coloring in coloring books, and she was mumbling to herself for a good minute. I thought so I ignored it, and I asked her what color she wanted next because I was picking them out, and she legit looked to her right when there was an empty spot on the bench seat between her and the wall, and looked straight at the wall, eye level with it, and said, "What color do you want?" No one was there. I was like, what in my head?
Oh my God, I have chills.
And she paused, did a small smile, giggled, then looked straight in my eyes and said, "We want purple."
Oh my God, that's so scary.
OMG, I got up and walked the fuck out of the room. I was scared for my life and called my mom. I just recently started babysitting her again because I was scared for a while. Sorry it was long, but I have more of them. That's just the weirdest one.
That is so scary. Oh
Ew,
my God.
We want purple?
Like, I feel like there's always like stereotypes about little kids having like imaginary friends, but that's like not that. That's like a little bit serious. Okay, so this is my last one. It's from a girl named Jenna. She said, in 2014, my dad passed away in my house. Ever since then, my family has experienced some weird things. Nothing bad has happened, but there's for sure something there. So I'm just going to share some experience that are most memorable. We're pretty sure it's my dad. Number 1, when he died, we had received wind chimes at his funeral from one of his friends. My mom had hung them up outside, and every night for about 2.5 months after his death, only my brother would wake up to the sound of wind chimes. It was the same time every single night. He was the only person who was woken up, and it was literally at the same time my dad was legally pronounced dead. Whoa. Ah, that's so creepy. Number 2, the week leading up to his funeral, my brother and I would have these thoughts pop up in our head. We wouldn't even be thinking of him, and it would just pop up in our head. We had a vision along the same lines. It was a vision of him crossing the gates and him smiling down on us and telling us he's okay. Well, that's nice. Number 3, my brother and I were at school one day. My mom said she was sitting in my dad's chair where he had passed. She was rocking back and forth, and she told us she had said something along the lines of, "If you're here, please tell me, give me a sign or something. I need to know if you're okay." She waited a few minutes, and all of a sudden the lights started flickering and the TV kept turning on and off. The same thing had sort of happened to me, and I got it on video one day, but I lost it. I was sitting downstairs, and all of a sudden the lights started flickering. Number 4, I was given a camera in November, and I was playing around with it in the car. All my settings were fine and everything. I had taken a photo, and there was just streaks of red and blue all over the photo. I showed my aunt, who is really into spiritual stuff, and she told me that they were a form of orbs. The red means safety, or that you're being protected, and the blue means safe and calming energy. Keep this in mind for a bit later. Number 5, recently I was in a car accident. This girl has bad luck. I feel bad for her. I have my dad's old keychains on mine, as well as his old records and vinyls in the trunk of my car. My car flipped, and I was totally okay. Not a scratch or concussion or anything.
That's crazy.
It was the weirdest thing. When I felt my car flipping, I saw my airbags deflate, but it was almost like there was something surrounding me, stopping me from getting hurt. I just stayed in the same position and didn't move. Later, when I was getting some stuff out of the car, I went to get my dad's vinyls, and they weren't cracked. They were put in picture frames, which I think is so weird. He was for sure watching over me and making sure I wasn't hurt. There's also small things that happen every now and then. My mom and I often experience stuff being misplaced, and then us turning around and seeing it set down. It's usually when we do our makeup, we can set a product down and go to grab it, and it's literally gone, like we can't find it. I usually look around or close my eyes, and I open it and it's there. It's nothing really exciting, it's just weird things that have happened since he has died, and we all think he's watching over us. Well, that's actually pretty nice, and I think I don't think any of that was a coincidence. I sound like a crazy, like, spiritual person, but, like, I always have believed in ghosts, and, like, I always had, like, a intuitive feeling about them, and I feel like when you think something is a sign from, like, someone who passed away, I feel like it is, and, like, they're telling you that, so that's pretty crazy. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, when they're in, like, a traumatic experience, that they feel, like, something protecting them, which I think is also real, which is crazy. Like, the fact that her car flipped over and, like, the glass in her trunk didn't even shatter is literally really weird.
Well, what I thought was crazy was the fact that her brother woke up every night at the time her dad was pronounced dead. That's like...
Yeah, that gives me the chills. Oh my god. That's so creepy. Okay, well, that was all the stories, but this is inspiring me to tell my few ghost stories that I've had, so if you guys are into this kind of stuff, then I will make more videos having to do with paranormal stuff, because I love it. And I feel like I've I feel like I have been able to sense ghosts since I was, like, really little. And so I have a lot of stories. Do you?
I have, like, no ghost stories at all.
He's kind of like, he's like a wall in his mind.
Oh, shut up.
Well, thanks for watching, and thanks for all the people that submitted, and I'll see you in my next video.